How's it going, everyone? I am back again today with a look at the other starter deck that has been made for monsters from the other realm. So let's get right into it. So firstly, the human card we have is Rebecca. And as you can see, she has 30 health as opposed to Timmy's 26, so she's a bit more bulky. And she also has the unique ability of once per game, you can negate all damage your opponent would do during one of their turns. Your active monsters then heal 5 health. So, it's a pretty substantial effect, but you can only use it once per game, so you gotta choose when you want to use it correctly. You just kind of like at the beginning, if you want to protect your monsters, say, I don't want you to do any damage this turn or whatever, and that's all damage for the turn. So if you want to do it in the middle of their turn or something when they've, I don't know. But still pretty good, and it fits into the defensive nature of the deck. And I do want to say that this deck doesn't really have like a lot of like set combos or anything like that. They just kind of, it's good stuff. Good, decent cards that can kind of work well together. It's all about defense. Not a lot of offensive prowess in this deck, but you'll see soon enough. So the main level 3 line this deck is built around is the Acorna, Rootorna, and Okerknot line. And Acorna is pretty weak for a level 1, 3 health and 1 power. But not the, is it the worst? No, he's not the worst because he does have an ability which is rooted. Basically, he cannot be removed from play due to a card's effect or ability. So if a card says remove 3 monsters from your field or whatever, which doesn't exist yet, but it might be a thing later on, Acorna, Ruta, and Okerknot cannot be removed from play via that way. You gotta beat them down like normal. Next, we have Rootorna, which is the level 2 form, 6 health and 2 power, so basically double the stats. Still not as good as some other ones like, what is it? Spooko. Spooko has, he's extra health, same ability and everything, but, Rootorna is pretty good. And then we have the, main boss of the deck, which is Okerknot here. And he is quite the wall. If you get one of these up, you are pretty much set for pissing off your opponent, really, because this thing just does not die. For the most part, there are a few things I feel like if you buffed up a monster enough, it could break through, but dang, it's 12 health, which is currently the most out of any level 3 monster. 4 power, which is very, very low, unfortunately, but he does have a unique ability to make up for that. So his ability is Unbreakable, so he cannot be removed from play due to a card's effect or ability, and the monster also takes 2 less damage from monster attacks, so very, very strong. In combination with the Caretaker's bonus, which allows him to heal off every turn, in addition to any other health regeneration you might be running, he is really annoying. And yeah, just a really good wall card. Next up here we have Sour Apple, who is a basic level 1, which really we're just running so we can access his level 2 form, which is Apple Knight. And Apple Knight is, he's basically your average, redirect damage kind of thing. So if he's in play, you can, when you're one of your other monsters, say Okerknot or a level 1 you're trying to level up, is going to take damage, maybe get KO'd, you can exhaust Apple Knight and he will take the damage instead. And your other monster will be perfectly fine. So pretty good there. That can be used in quite a variety of situations. You can get him out pretty early because he's only a level 2. Next up we have Moon Fairy, who's been changed a little bit. She used to be able to poison. Is there a little gunk on there? These have been used a little bit, so there's a little gunk. There we go. She's been changed a little bit. Basically, she has Cold Shot instead of Poison Shot. Or basically, you can flip a coin, and if it's heads, the opposing monster is frozen and can't attack. So you can kind of imagine how well that works with such defensive walls such as Okerknot and just healing off. Okay, because basically, if your opponent can't attack, they can't hurt you. So yeah, it's just fits into the whole defensive nature of the deck. And if you somehow got 3 of these in your support zone, you could just be firing off cold shots left and right, and all of your opponent's attack zone monsters would have a 50% chance of not attacking that turn. So that is quite annoying. This deck's very annoying. I think if played well, it could do well. So next up here we have Nomi, and his ability is pretty simple. It's Cultivate, where your adjacent wood monsters gain +2 power and damage. Or I don't know what I'm calling. I think power is listed on the card, and then damage is the actual damage dealt. I don't know. The terms are a bit iffy right now, but Nomi's being run here specifically because Okernaut's power is really low. He's 4 for a level 3. It's not that great. But if you have a Nomi in play, it goes to 6, and what you could do if you so chose, if you got this off somehow, you could have Okernaut in your middle attack zone. Be in the main wall, you could have a Nomi in the back. He's adjacent, so he gains +2. You could have a Nomi up here, adjacent, another +2, so he's at 8. And then you could also do this, another adjacent one, so he gains +6, so he's a 12-10. So that is ridiculous. And of course, this is, ideal scenario. This isn't going to happen every game, but it is certainly possible. You can stack the bonuses that way. It's not like a flat thing where all wood monsters in play, etc. The only downside really is that Nomi himself can't make use of the bonus, but he's Earth, and he kinda doesn't meld too well with wood monsters, but he works well with it. I mean, he gives them a flat buff, so he can't be all bad. Next up we have Minarok, who is basically the other deck was Chaotix focused with a splash of warriors. This one is Caretakers focused with a splash of the Peacekeepers, and Minarok is one of the 2 lines for the Peacekeepers. So Minarok is just pretty simple, although he does have a unique support, where if your attack zone monster would be attacked, you may redirect the attack to this monster. It is if it is within range of the attack. So basically, what that means is, let me see. So let's say you have an Acorna up here, and Minarok's down here. I don't have a lot of camera space, and then your opponent has a monster up here. So if they were to attack here, it would be redirected to Minarok. And the reason is because Acorna could have attacked Minarok because they are sort of in line. And that's how you can... Attack zone monsters can attack support zones if they're within the line. And support zones can attack zone monsters if they're in that same line. So if you would attack Acorna here, it needs to be redirected to Minarok. But if Acorna was over here and attacked Acorna, it wouldn't redirect because Acorna wouldn't be able to attack Minarok. So it should be interesting, especially because there's an ability planned, which is kind of like a ranged ability. So that could be interesting because range allows you to attack from anywhere and attack anything. So that could be a good counter for that. Maybe. I don't know. And Minarok's a good wall because of his Peacekeeper's bonus, which allows him to take 1 less damage for monster. There's a lot of gunk on these card sleeves. I'm just noticing this. It's kind of gross. Anyway, he takes 1 less damage, and yeah. So next up we have Minatitan, who is the leveled up form of Minarok. I feel like every TCG needs a giant rock creature. You have Humongous Ancient Rock Man in Chaos Galaxy. You have Ancient Old Stone Being in Wrath of Kors. Bros Inc., I believe his name is, had a competition where he needed to design like a Earth-esque creature or character, and a lot of people created sort of giant rock monsters. So it's a tried and true, I guess, trope, but I don't know, I like them. They're pretty cool. But yeah, Minatitan, he has 8 health, 2 damage, which is really good. He's very tanky. He has that Peacekeeper's bonus, so he takes less damage. He has the same support, so if you really want to, you could be protecting your weak level 1s up here while with your support zone. And he has a unique ability called Rock Slide, which sort of increases his damage output. There's more... I'm getting distracted by that. I should stop. Basically, Rock Slide, whenever he deals damage, he deals... monsters adjacent to the opposing monster take damage equal to half of the dealt damage. So if your Minotaur's in the attack zone, and he attacks Acorna here. Acorna would take 2 damage, but then monsters adjacent would also be taking half that damage, so 1 damage. So this the best effect of this is to attack the middle one, and then it deals damage to the sides as well as to the back here, because that is also adjacent. So yeah, that is what that means if you were curious. Adjacent means just to the side, not diagonal though. So you can sort of maximize your damage with Minotitan, especially because you could buff him up. So if he's dealing 4 damage, he'd be dealing 4 damage and then 2, so he can deal quite a bit of damage despite his low power. Let's see, where am I here? Too many cards. Too many cards, alright. And lastly, we have Jelly Rider. And he's a good level 1. He used to be where if you placed him in the attack zone on his first turn, he'd be able to gain like +3 power or something. I changed that, so for every adjacent monster to him, he gains +1 power. So this is really good for the defensive nature of the deck, because let's say you just have your wall of Okernaut, and then you can place him here. Jelly Rider, he gains +1, and then maybe you have another support monster down here, giving him another +1 with his support ability or something. And he also gains another +1 from that, so he'd be on +1. He'd be on 4 damage, so that's not bad for level 1. Just taking up and soaking up all the damage for him, allowing him to buff up. But yeah, it kind of works well. And those are all the monster cards. Next up, we're going to the effect cards here. So there are 3 Book of Monsters, just a nice simple card if you need to get a certain card out. Like if you have a level 2 form, you need a level 1 form, you can play Book of Monsters and grab that out of your deck. Nice card. It's simple in what it does. Excuse me, oh man. And yeah, pretty simple. It's also in the other deck. And we also have 2 copies of Slippery Fingers. Just allows you to move equipment cards from any monster in play. It's not really super useful in these decks, but there are certain equipment cards that are kind of annoying, so I created that and put it in here because I felt like it. That's all I really can need to say. And yeah, so next up we have Health Tonic, which allows you to heal 3 HP to any monster in play. So that is really good, because if you have like Peacekeepers or something, they're tanking more damage because they take less damage, then you can heal them up and all that good stuff. Pretty simple, just a nice little health boost. Next up we have Forced Shield. We have 3 of those. Basically it allows monsters to take 1 less damage from opposing monster attacks, which is, it's fine. Maybe a little weak, but considering a lot of monsters have low-ish power in their base forms, if you get this out early enough, it could be quite a useful card, but maybe not as much later on. If you put it on like Okernaut or something, you'd be taking 3 less damage, so that's kind of obnoxious. And next up here we have Growth Spurt, which is an action card, which allows you to give +3 damage to a wood monster in play and heal it by 2. So that is really good for like Okernaut. So you can heal him up for all the damage he's taken and then buff him up for the next turn. Combination with Nomi, you got a pretty powerful force on your hands. That's just a simple action card with a good effect to sort of help the non-offensiveness of the deck. Next up, with the battlefield for the deck is Forest of Dreams, where your active monsters heal +1 HP at the start of your turn. It's basically, you can give the Caretaker's bonus to any deck you want, so even if you don't want to run Caretakers, you can still have them heal health at the start of your turn. And we are running 2 because, just for a bit of consistency's sake, even though you can only have 1 out at a time. Next up we have 2 copies of Arms Merchant. He is more useful in this deck, I feel, because there are a few more equipment cards that you can make use of. As you know, you can search your deck for an equipment card and add it to your hand. Pretty simple. Next up here we have an interesting card called Pure Power. You got 2 of those in the deck, and basically it stays in play until the end of your opponent's next turn, and anytime a monster battles, you basically ignore every other ability except for the printed power and health on the card. So you just only use the power. So let's see here. For example, you have Apple Knight. Basically, any changes, let's see, ignore all abilities and only use printed, yeah. So basically, instead of, 7 and 5 or whatever, like say he's buffed up by 2 because of Nomi or something, he'd only be 7-3. So it's an interesting card because it basically ignores all buffs and I guess nerfs in a way. This is useful in this deck because let's say your opponent's getting quite powerful, powering up their monsters and getting their level 3s out and putting equipment cards on and getting their supports up and running and everything. It basically allows you to say, no thank you, I don't want to deal with that, and play with them on a more even playing field in a way. Though you gotta be careful that you don't negate your own bonuses as well, so it's a bit situational, but it can work. And finally, we have 2 copies of Angelic Orb. Hopefully you could hear me there. I was kind of far away from the mic. My phone, I should say. But 2 copies of Angelic Orb. Basically, it kind of acts like a Bull Warder in Chaos Galaxy, except it's an equipment card. So basically, you just, whenever your monster would take damage, you can negate it and discard this card instead, which adds to the defensive nature of the deck. So, yeah, that's everything there. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments section down below. That's kind of cool looking. Not really, kind of. And let me know what you guys think. And this is the second starter deck, focusing on the Caretakers and the Peacekeepers. The tentative name is like Nature's Peace or something. Or something else, I'm not sure, but maybe Nature's Protection, I'm not sure. But yeah. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Next video should be something related to how to play Monsters from the Other Realm online. So that should be pretty cool, right? But yeah, I guess I've rambled on long enough. I'm not sure how to end a video, so I'll just say, I'll see you next time, guys. Goodbye.